Most of us at this point know that Fable has almost absolutely no chance to be even a remotely good game at this point. The devs who are making it are completely forsaking everything that made Fable Fable, and, well, there's a lot of people currently extremely coping about the fact that this thing looks like an absolute disaster from beginning to end. So let's enjoy ourselves a little bit.
Talking more about Fable. Indeed, we got that big Fable reveal for the reboot with the developer direct. We got a ton of information. And what I realized when I was combing through the aftermath of everything is that there was a lot of information I missed that I wanted to talk about. Everything from how the game shot to more omissions for this Fable game, including a dog, which a little bit of a bummer there, but also how Xbox is thinking about their release schedule now, which I think is important to consider given Fable is an autumn title, and that means that it can land right near GTA 6, and is Xbox considering other games when they're releasing their own? I say this because, as we've covered a lot of Defining Duke and here on this channel, Xbox loves what I call the shotgun blast approach. They'll throw like 4 games at you at once. Last year's a great example. Here's Ninja Gaiden 4, here's Keeper, here's Outer Worlds 2, and they all drop within a week. Yes, different audiences, but like it's a lot of content in a week, and that's not accounting for other games, movies, music, etc. Is Xbox considering that now in 2026, and how will that impact Fable of other big?
Does not matter in the slightest. It doesn't matter what the Xbox considers or doesn't at this point. Fable is gonna be a disaster. And I'm being kind of generous here because Fable really looks bad.
Games, GTA 6, end up showing up in the fall of this year, if they do end up showing up. I'm not fully buying into 2026 for GTA 6. Still, we have a lot more information to go over with Fable. I want to talk about it here today. So if you're new here, you're into what's going on with Fable, we're going to be covering this bad boy a lot. Consider subscribing. I want to start off with how this game is being shot because I don't know how it'll pan out, but it's different. This is something they talked about in the Xbox Wire interview, and they said when it came to the British comedy element of this game that they were inspired by a rich variety of British comedies. But one thing they talk about in this interview is The Office.
John Oliver? Go outside, get stabbed? The typical British comedies of modern day?
Of all things, and they said it travels really well, not just the IP, but a lot of the techniques and devices that it has popularized. You know, it's that really grounded, awkward style of humor that appeals to us, and the actors who have been in a lot of these shows, and indeed some of whom are in the game, they're known all over the world. The other cool thing with The Office is something we've kind of nicked. You may have seen in our trailers that we did a sort of mockumentary interview style. I think a lot of people assume we just did that for the trailers, but it's actually a device we use throughout the game. I've never seen it in the games before, but it allows you a way to tell a real neat joke or drop a little bit of character detail in a way that would feel really clunky in dialogue.
Yeah, and it also takes you completely out of the game and immersion. If a game is supposed to be a gag game, that still doesn't mean that I want to be taken out of the immersion. It doesn't mean that I want a forced pause in the middle of combat and saying, "Oh, well, didn't you think you were gonna be in this situation, did you?" Or some garbage like that. That sounds horrible. That sounds absolutely unappealing. I don't want to meet a character, they say one thing, and then there's a cutoff for a 10-second moment of them doing completely something different that makes me think, wait, what? This does not fit what I just saw, and it doesn't make sense. This sounds like an absolute red flag.
But suddenly feels entirely natural when you do it to the camera. Okay, so like pros, cons here. I like that they're shooting this game differently. I think of so many different movie and TV techniques that get carried into video games. In particular, I think the one shot has become really popular in video games. I like that there is a game that's trying something that has a very obvious inspiration, like everyone knows The Office. I like that they're doing that, but kind of playing into an element that is established in the older Fable games, it's comedy, and trying to enhance it in a unique way. Obviously, this does fall a bit on the writing and the performance element of the game. If these performances can uphold that, I mean, that's a big part of the reason that The Office is incredible. It's hilarious because of the performance, it's hilarious because of the writing, it's hilarious because you can't really tell if it's improv or if it's actually part of the script, and that kind of guessing game I think makes it hilarious. For what is a fairy tale game to do this is a little strange because it's not like it's really fitting the setting. That's like the con of this all. It's like, okay, you're doing an interview with him.
In The Office, you kind of understand that everyone's in on the joke. that this is not like supposed to be a depiction of truly real life, that this is supposed to be a gag. In a game that I'm playing, I don't want someone to tell me, "Hey, remember, you're playing nothing and none of this has any value." So, how about a quick mandated session about how evil white people are? Okay, I don't want that.
Two, for what? Like, why is this a thing? I think if they provide those elements, maybe my brain can buy in a little bit more. But I think if they're trying to use this to uplift the comedy, pressures on the writing, as I've talked about before, when it comes to comedy writing in games, really, really tough to do because it's like a hard crowd to crack in the first place. And then also, like, you think of the replayable factor of video games, and then you're using The Office, which is considered one of the most rewatchable shows, as your inspiration. So I hope they nail it. It definitely is a really different approach, and I appreciate that a lot. They also talked a bit about the 1,000 NPCs that we see in Albion, and they did use in Developer Direct the word handcrafted. That was good to see, but of course...
Yeah, I don't believe this. Like, there's no way they handcrafted 1,000 NPCs. Maybe by handcrafted, they mean they created, like 5 traits in separate categories, and each of those separate categories has 5 different things in it. So you effectively have 125, 125, you have like a couple of thousands of combinations that you can use from that, but that still makes them bland because this is a fallacy, I think, that a lot of developers don't understand. Starfield literally got kind of destroyed by it, okay? This NPC thing, let me explain it in a little bit more detail why it's complete garbage. Okay, so you have an NPC. They have 5 character representing slots that you have. Like their personality, their aspirations, their likes, their dislikes, and 2 more. And in their personality, you have like 7 choices. What they're gonna be like. Are they gonna be mean, good, sarcastic, blah, blah, blah. And then you have, what they like and dislike, and then you have like 4 things and stuff like that. And to calculate the possibility of what kind of NPCs you can have, you multiply all of this. So it's 7 times 5 times the rest of the 3, So it's 7 times 5, let's say it's times 5 again, and times 3, and times something. And that's a very big number. But what people don't understand is that's actually not a lot of permutations that are truly unique. That is a lot of unique possibilities how you can create a character, but all of those things are from the same pool. So people who are not 50 IQ mouth breathers are gonna notice this. Yes, this is exactly the problem with the Starfield tile sets. There's technically a decent amount of tiles, but but the moment you see one and the next one, you know what's gonna follow because it's gonna be the same type again. It never changes. There's not enough uniqueness and variety there. And this is the same thing with the population of people, because I do not believe someone actually spent time for 1,000 NPCs and was like, yeah, this guy's just gonna be rude, likable, very charismatic, and a dick and a vampire. I don't think anyone is actually gonna do that. So I think this point is a lie.
As we've learned with the Fable reboot here, there was a lot of information that was kind of hidden in these other interviews here. Maybe some of them more disappointing than others, where I felt context was key here. And they actually answer a question about procedural generation for these NPCs. They say they are handcrafted. There's a lot of things about the way we have to build the living population, which I think you could be forgiven for saying it's just nuts. I think we maybe once thought we could procedurally generate them, but we abandoned that idea quite a long time ago because we wanted to craft every one of these NPCs from their name to their appearance to their personality traits.
Okay, wait. Actually, I just thought of a better way to explain in Starfield terms, okay? So, let's take an actual real example. You have a planet. It can be cold, hot, a desert planet, a moon, or something like that. So that's 4. Then you can have an objective. Maybe it's a scientific outpost, maybe it's a raider place, and in that raider place, maybe you have an infestation or NPCs or something like that. Technically, that would be like 5 times 2 times 2, so 20 possibilities of something. That seems like a lot. But the reality is, you go to a planet and there's only 5 options, and you can recognize all of these options the moment you have seen them. And now, the uniqueness which fails is this problem. You go to a planet that's volcanic, and there you find an outpost that's infested with raiders. On the other planet, you go to a planet that's volcanic, and now instead of an outpost, you have like a science facility that's infested by raiders. See, technically, it's 100% unique. It's a completely different thing, in fact. But it feels the same because, well, that's all that it's gonna be. And now the next time you go to a place, it's a desert planet, it's an outpost, and it's infested with raiders. See? Again, technically, there's 20 unique varieties of ways to create an encounter, but already you see the flaw. You see the absolute ginormous flaw with this. And considering I don't believe that they're actually uniquely handcrafting this, I think that they're going to use this type of layout, this type of creation system for NPCs, the same way that Starfield uses it for its planets. And I think this is going to be the failure.
To that moral world viewpoint that I talked about, to where they work and where they live and where their family unit is, because it's important to the player that they can get to know these uniquely crafted NPCs. And like I said, there's 1,000 of them in the game. You can go and speak to every one of them in fully voiced conversations. It'll be a bit of work, but you can marry them all. You can have kids with them, you can hire them, you can fire them. They're just great fun. I thought this was a really great, relieving piece of information here, because when we see a high number like that, our first thought is that sort of procedural generation. And I really think I gotta blame Starfield for that, No Man's Sky for that. Funny enough, 2 space games where lots of planets, lots of things out there to see and do, and you
No Man's Sky is different, okay? It technically follows the same thing, but the variety of what you can have in No Man's Sky is different.
Realize it's hollow. It's possible this does become hollow just because of the volume of content here.
Yeah, there's a reason why No Man's Sky currently probably has roughly 20k concurrent players, and Starfield has 2k, okay? It's not comparable. Okay, Maddie, stop with the lies.
Here. But I love that they focused on the handcrafted nature, the naming of them, where they work, where they live, what their story is. I don't think this means every character will have a story, but it does mean that we can attach ourselves to some of these more unique NPCs. Like, one thing they mentioned in the developer direct was like the sister of that giant character that you can kill in the main story. So she will likely be a more identifiable, high profile NPC in this 1,000.
Also, this is going to make stuff feel hollow extremely fast because there is no nuance, right? If you're creating a character that's an asshole and you have a lot of them, you're literally just creating a situation where you're going through the world and you're like, oh, great, another character that's treating me like I'm shit and dirt for no literal reason because their character is just designed to be an asshole for no reason. That feels bad. That feels stupid.
NPC world. But then a question popped up in my head. 1,000 NPCs. It's a pretty big community there. How big is this open world? And they also...
I mean, how big is the diversity? I love this, by the way, woman walk for the man.
Answered this in this interview with IGN. He said, I'm used to fielding this question for my time on the other game, and the comparison is useful actually because it probably won't surprise you in the terms of the square miles that it's smaller than a Forza Horizon world. Forza Horizon worlds are designed to be experienced at 250 miles per hour, so you cover the distance far faster in those games than you do in ours. In our game, Fable, you move at the speed of a horse at most. So what we found is that although we took a lot of world building experience and technology into this game from the Forza Horizon titles, obviously we share a code base, we had to reevaluate the things that were important in building Albion. So it's still massive, it still takes you a long time to get through, there's tons to explore, but what we had to do in this game was build in far, far more detail into it than we necessarily had to with a Horizon game. So you move closer, but you see much more, you experience much more. I think maybe you're more immersed. Case in point, every building in the game you can go inside. So every building needs an interior because you could rob it if you wanted to, or you could buy it and live in there with your family or with one of your families. So I guess the focus just got pulled right in and we ended up building out much more rich detail at ground level, if you know what I mean. First off,
you know what's also, by the way, a giant red flag about Fable? It's the fact that currently the only things that we are really hearing about Fable is the superfluous stuff, like, oh, you can have a family, oh, you can own a building, oh, you can fire a person, or you can hire a person. This is pretty much the focus. There has been no real focus on the combat, because let's be real, everything that we have seen from the combat, is he going to show combat? Like a little, yeah, this is a little bit of combat. All the combat that we see in Fable just feels like ass. Like, the best feeling thing in this game is probably the discount Timu Lightning. That I don't even know why it felt good for me to see that, but I mean, it was ass. And yeah, that's gonna be a problem. The only thing they have talked about this game is pretty much like, oh, you can kick a chicken, you can kick a chicken. That's not gonna sell me a game.
Love to hear that every building is one you can enter. I think that is huge. Again, I just hope there's density, quality in all of this. I love that this world is smaller than a Forza Horizon world.
If you have 1,000 buildings that you can enter, well, technically less than 1,000, because some of those people are in the world are gonna be probably married. So those buildings are gonna be AI generated, a huge swath of them, and they're gonna all feel also the same-ish. This is effectively another Starfield Million Planets situation. Well, 1,000 planets, but you get the point.
It makes sense. It's kind of what I expected, given how fast you can travel across a Forza Horizon open world, thanks to those high-speed vehicles, where something like...
Also, the wokeness is insane, because this is Zara the Butcher, okay? So first of all, female butcher, black, okay? That's called subverting expectations, and my god, my expectations subverted indeed.
Horizon open world, thanks to those high-speed vehicles, where something like Fable, it sounds like you can kind of take it in, go at a slower pace here. Still a big open world, but more densely packed. So I thought this was also like really great information here on what to expect with the open world. In fact, they talk a little bit about how they came about to this decision, which I thought was interesting. They said one of the first things we did when we got our Fable character was ran them around Surfer's Paradise for Forza Horizon 3, and it took us an eternity to get anywhere. And I think if we hadn't realized already, that was the moment it dawned on us, okay, we have to play with some of our metrics here. And what I'm happy about with all of this, some people may find it obvious, is that I was afraid they were going to do something with Fable to turn it into basically a racing game open world. Like the horses would have a magic spell cast on them that would go at high speed so you can get from point A to point B quicker. I'm glad that they adjusted it to make it more Fable rather than more accommodating their tech stack. So I thought that was really good. Now, in talking about all these animals, you're probably wondering what's going on with the dog. And it's a very sincere, honest answer here. They say, I did know I was going to get this question about the dog. And you know what? There are some folks on the team that were relishing me getting this question because I cut it a while back. You know what? For development reasons, right? I don't need to go into any more detail than that, except to say that there are a substantial number of people on the team who have yet to forgive me for that decision. And he says, that's item number 1 on the sequel then. And he says, I hear you on that. Hey, for the people that still bear a grudge, this is my penance. I found this answer a little bit interesting because for all the detailed answers we have gotten over these past couple of days about Fable, I was really surprised to see that this is the one where they go development reasons. But like they had great answers for everything from why they're rebooting it to why they're ditching the morality system and going for more reputation. Like they have great answers, and this is the one they go. It's the easiest one too, because I think we can live without the dog. I know it's key in Fable 2 especially, but Fable 3 as well. But I look at this and think like this is just simply, it doesn't sound like there was a great answer for this one. In fact, I thought a dog, like I'm thinking Mutt from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I thought a dog would fit in this Fable reboot much better than what it did in Fable 2 and 3. So it's a little strange, the omission, and a little bit disappointing, no doubt about it. Now, I want to shift our attention over to a Games Radar interview with Xbox. It's talking broadly about Xbox and their portfolio and their release structure, but I think it's important because it can inform us a bit on our expectations for Fable's release window. Right now, all we have is multi-platform release, autumn 2026. The game did look a little rough in some spots that we saw for the Fable Developer Direct, where some frame drops were happening, and I think it could have looked sharper in a couple areas where I could see a world where this gets delayed. But also there's the whole other factor of other games surrounding it that could lead to a delay. And more importantly, sometimes it's Xbox's own games that get in the way. They are such a mammoth of a game publisher. Say what you will about them.
Yeah, none of this look.
Certainly had
Wait! Oh my god, that's a black woman. That's racist.
A load of critiques about them, but Xbox has a laundry list of games, especially this year, to publish. And as I said earlier, just
Also, like, look at this particle animation for the fire.
of games, especially
Holy shit. This is bad.
this year to publish. And as I said earlier, just look
This, like, the dodging, this feels like paperweight and insane.
as far as last year.
There's a reason they don't mention the combat, and I think it's because they understand the combat is completely ass. They can only try to fugazi you with a bunch of giant numbers. 10 million NPCs, all handcrafted, buy, sell, slavery. Until the point that they realize, wait a minute, slavery bad, ain't it? Well, free labor is never bad, technically, so there you go. Saved.
Or go back as far as 2021, where you had like Forza Horizon 5 launching the same time and week that you got Halo Infinite's multiplayer, which launched ahead of its campaign. And before that, you had like Age of Empires, and you also had Psychonauts 2. These shotgun blasts are something Xbox is really known for. And I've always wondered.
Okay, but I'm not gonna base my impressions of Fable off of Xbox. I couldn't care less, Matty, okay? Stop with the, oh, Xbox does this. Yes, Xbox does things. I understand. Very cool indeed. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays, 10 out of 10. Bye!